A Texas woman is deeply unsettled after her home security camera captured a disturbing incident outside her residence. The footage reveals an unidentified individual wearing a horned goat mask, ominously holding a sign displaying a Bible verse about the end times. The homeowner, whose identity has been withheld for security reasons, had gone out to dinner with her husband on January 18th when the encounter took place near West Hebron Parkway. In the video, the masked figure can be seen walking through the side yard before approaching the front door. Dressed in a red, demonic-looking mask, the person carried a sign referencing a passage often linked to Judgment Day, the lake of fire, and the final defeat of Satan. The sight of the stranger standing at her doorstep with such an ominous message has left the woman feeling terrified in her own home. The homeowner said she was afraid to go outside. She explained that she and her husband had stopped for dinner and purchased a Powerball ticket on their way home, only to later review Ring camera footage showing the unsettling encounter. The video captures the masked intruder knocking on the door, staring directly into the camera and deliberately pointing at the sign, seemingly emphasizing its message. A local resident, Scott Gairn, who came across the footage after it was posted on the Nextdoor neighborhood app, was equally disturbed. Another neighbor, Gloria Johns, expressed concern over the incident, stating that they have lived there for years and they've never seen anything like this. The verse displayed on the intruder's sign originates from the Book of Revelation, a chapter in the Bible that describes apocalyptic events and the ultimate triumph over evil. According to researchers, the passage depicts Satan's final downfall and the restoration of justice for the faithful. The reference to such a passage, combined with the masked figure's appearance and actions, has left many unsettled. The Carrollton Police Department has been notified, but authorities concluded that no crime had been committed. Since the individual did not break any barriers, ignore warnings, or remain on private property after being asked to leave, their actions do not legally constitute trespassing. Despite the lack of legal consequences, the homeowner remains deeply shaken by the encounter. The mystery of the Persian princess. In the year 2000, an extraordinary discovery in Pakistan sparked an international dispute between Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. At the center of the controversy was what was initially believed to be the mummified remains of a 2,600-year-old Persian princess. The discovery quickly became a sensation, drawing the attention of historians, archaeologists, and governments eager to claim ownership of what seemed to be an unprecedented archaeological find. However, as experts began to examine the remains more closely, doubts arose about the authenticity of the mummy, leading to a shocking revelation that turned the story from one of historical significance into a gruesome crime mystery. The mummy was unearthed during a police raid at the home of a Baluchistan chieftain in Karan, Pakistan. Authorities suspected that the relic was being sold on the black market, with estimates suggesting it could fetch millions of dollars. Upon its discovery, the mummy was adorned with a golden crown, and her coffin contained gold ornaments, making it appear as though she had been a figure of great importance, possibly royalty from ancient Persia. If the mummy were authentic, it would have been one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in the region's history, providing valuable insight into ancient Persian burial practices. However, not everyone was convinced by the discovery. Among the skeptics was Professor Ahmad Dani, the director of the Institute of Asian Civilizations in Islamabad. From the very beginning, he suspected that something was amiss, stating that the remains did not align with known burial customs from the Persian period. His skepticism prompted a more detailed analysis of the mummy, which ultimately unraveled a macabre deception. Upon closer examination, experts found several inconsistencies that cast doubt on the authenticity of the mummy. The first red flag was the coffin itself, which was far too modern to be from 2,600 years ago. Further investigations revealed that the mat on which the mummy rested was no older than 5 years, immediately discrediting the claim that the body was from antiquity. These inconsistencies led experts to suspect that the body was not ancient at all, but rather that of a recently deceased individual. To determine the true age of the remains, scientists conducted radiocarbon dating, which confirmed that the woman had passed away in 1996, not in ancient times. Further examination of the body revealed signs of trauma, indicating that the so-called Persian princess was actually a victim. Her neck, jaw, and back were broken, suggesting that the end of her life was violent. Instead of an archaeological treasure, the discovery had become a forensic investigation into the fate of an unidentified young woman, believed to be around 21 years old at the time of her passing. The shocking revelation left many unanswered questions. Who was this woman? Why was her body mummified and placed in an elaborate coffin? And most disturbingly, who was responsible? Unfortunately, despite the widespread interest and investigation, her identity remains unknown to this day. The authorities were unable to trace her origins, and no one came forward to claim her remains. The case also exposed the dark underbelly of the antiquities black market, where forgers and smugglers create fake relics to sell for enormous profits. In this instance, the scheme had been taken to a disturbing extreme, as someone had gone to great lengths to disguise a modern murder victim as an ancient artifact. Whether the perpetrators intended to profit from the sale or simply cover up a crime remains a mystery. With no further leads, the authorities eventually decided to give the victim a proper burial. In 2005, the so-called Persian princess was laid to rest, her identity and the circumstances of her passing still unknown. What began as an astonishing archaeological discovery had ended as a tragic, unsolved murder case, highlighting the need for greater scrutiny in the field of historical artifact authentication. The story of the Persian mummy remains one of the most bizarre and chilling cases in modern history, serving as a stark reminder that not all ancient discoveries are as they seem. While the case may never be fully solved, it stands as a testament to the importance of scientific investigation and the pursuit of truth, even when the answers are not what we expect. The mystery of the Circleville letters. In 1976, the peaceful community of Circleville, Ohio, found itself at the center of a mysterious and unnerving series of events that would come to be known as the Circleville Letters case. What began as a few anonymous letters containing personal and sensitive information rapidly escalated into a convoluted tale of threats and accusations. Even decades later, the identity of the letter writer remains unknown, leaving this bizarre case unsolved and its motives shrouded in secrecy. The trouble began when several Circleville residents received letters detailing intimate knowledge of their lives. The letters, postmarked from Columbus, Ohio, arrived without any return address, and all were written in a distinctive style, block letters, perhaps to disguise the author's actual handwriting. The content was aggressive and unsettling, containing threats of violence and exposing private details that, in many cases, were known only to the recipients. The letters were peppered with vulgar language and occasionally included crude illustrations, lending a sinister air to their delivery. One of the earliest and most significant targets of these letters was Mary Gillespie, a local school bus driver. Mary received an alarming letter accusing her of having an affair with the superintendent of schools, a claim that she firmly denied. The writer insisted that they had been watching Mary's house, knew about her children, and warned her to end the alleged affair or face dire consequences. Understandably shaken, Mary chose to keep the letters a secret, but it wasn't long before her husband, Ron Gillespie, received a similarly threatening letter. This one explicitly warned Ron that if he did not intervene and put a stop to his wife's supposed affair, his life would be in danger. Initially, the couple tried to ignore the letters, hoping the situation would resolve on its own, but the letters didn't stop. In fact, they grew more menacing and pervasive. Mary and Ron began to suspect that the person behind the letters was Paul Freshour, Ron's brother-in-law, believing that family tensions may have played a role. They sent a letter of their own, accusing Freshour of being the mysterious writer. For a brief period, the letters ceased, leading the couple to believe they had confronted the right person. However, the peace was short-lived, and the letters soon resumed, more ominous than ever. The case took a tragic turn on August 19, 1977, when Ron Gillespie passed away in what was initially described as a car accident. That evening, Ron had received a mysterious phone call that seemed to agitate him. Without hesitation, he grabbed his pistol and stormed out of the house, telling his children that he was going to confront the letter writer. Hours later, his vehicle was found crashed into a tree, and Ron was no longer alive. Although his passing was ruled an accident, several aspects of the incident raised suspicions. For one, his pistol had been fired once, though no one knew why or at whom. Additionally, the letters that followed his death demanded a more thorough investigation, suggesting that foul play had been involved. In the years that followed, the letters continued to plague Circleville residents, casting a shadow over the entire town. The harassment culminated in an even more sinister event in 1983. While driving her school bus route, Mary Gillespie noticed a suspicious sign along the road, making lewd accusations about her daughter. When she stopped to remove the sign, she discovered that it was rigged with a booby trap, a loaded weapon designed to fire when the sign was tampered with. Fortunately, the trap malfunctioned, and Mary escaped unharmed. Investigators traced the gun to Paul Freshour, Mary's brother-in-law, who had long been a person of interest in the case. Freshour denied any involvement, but the circumstantial evidence was enough for him to be charged. He was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison. However, the case took another baffling turn when, even with Freshour behind bars, the letters continued. They were still postmarked from Columbus, even though Freshour was incarcerated in a different location and no mail had been sent from the prison. This led many to question whether Freshour was truly responsible for the letters or if the real writer was still at large. The Circleville letters case caught the attention of the national media, including the popular television show Unsolved Mysteries. As the show investigated the peculiar events, they received a postcard, allegedly from the original letter writer, demanding that they stay away from Circleville and threatening consequences if they interfered. The postcard read, "Forget Circleville, Ohio. Do nothing to hurt Sheriff Radcliffe. If you come to Ohio, you sickos will pay. The Circleville writer." The audacity of the message only fueled the public's fascination with the case, as it suggested that the writer was still actively monitoring anyone who took an interest in the story. Despite Freshour's conviction, many in Circleville and beyond remained convinced that the true writer was never caught. Was there a mastermind behind the scenes, orchestrating the letters from afar? Or was the author someone entirely different, taking advantage of the chaos to continue the harassment? The letters ceased in 1994, and to this day, their source remains unidentified. Soldiers turned into stone by cosmic beings. They say that truth is often stranger than fiction. It's well known that many unusual events take place in our world, yet much of this information remains hidden from the general public. We only learn about these occurrences when officials choose to go on record, offering rare glimpses into subjects that are otherwise kept in the shadows. Some argue that certain information is withheld for good reason, particularly when it concerns national security or sensitive government operations. However, those with an interest in mysterious and unexplained topics frequently express their desire for greater transparency and access to concealed knowledge. This is where the Freedom of Information Act plays a crucial role. In recent years, it has helped online researchers uncover bizarre and mysterious cases that might have otherwise remained undisclosed. Under the Freedom of Information Act request, anyone can submit a request for records, reports, and other documents held by federal agencies. Interestingly, in recent years, hundreds of thousands of government documents have been made publicly available online, sometimes without much public awareness. One particularly unsettling report describes an incident in Siberia in 1993, where 23 soldiers allegedly encountered 5 humanoid beings. According to the document, the interaction took a deadly turn, resulting in the disappearance of the soldiers. This chilling account, like many other declassified records, raises important questions about what truly happens behind closed doors and how much information the public is allowed to know. The document details the following. After Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved in 1991, the KGB Top Secret Intelligence Administration, a lot of material from that department found their way abroad, in particular to the CIA. As reported by the authoritative magazine, United States intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack of a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the events. One of the Central Intelligence Agency representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. According to the KGB material, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, Someone unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile, and it hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that, after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply, and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles. Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changes the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. A Central Intelligence Agency representative stated, "If the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked." End quote. The mystery of Betty Andreasson. The Betty Andreasson case remains one of the most fascinating and detailed accounts of extraterrestrial contact in modern history. Her story began on the evening of January 25, 1967, in South Ashburnham, Massachusetts, when an unexplained pink light illuminated her home, followed by a brief power outage. Inside the house, Andreasson, her 7 children, and her visiting parents gathered in the kitchen, unaware that their lives were about to take an unexplainable turn. Andreasson's father, noticing the pink glow outside, looked out the back window and saw several small humanoid figures that he described as resembling Halloween-like creatures. While he took note of them, he did not act, nor did anyone in the household recall anything particularly unusual the following morning. However, in the weeks that followed, Betty began experiencing strange flashbacks, visions of humanoid beings, and an unfamiliar, otherworldly environment. These fragmented memories left her with an unshakable feeling that something beyond her understanding had occurred that night. The kids would be told to wait in the living room by Betty. From the lights, Betty's father could see a number of humanoid creatures coming towards him. Then, one of them appeared directly outside the window. When it turned to face him, Betty's father seemed to enter a peculiar state of suspended animation, akin to a trance. He wouldn't recall the encounter any further. Abruptly, the 5 humanoids entered the Andreassons' house through the walls. Betty would say that they seemed to fade in and out of existence as they passed through the walls. Like Betty's father, everyone in the house except for Betty was put into a state of suspended animation. Then they invited her to go outdoors with them, but out of concern for her family's safety, one of the humanoids had to take one of the kids, Becky, out of her suspended state to demonstrate that they wouldn't be harmed. Betty followed these mysterious beings once it was shown that her family was safe. She felt obliged to do so, as she would later explain. To protect the house and the other Andreasson family members, one of the creatures would stay behind. Betty would follow her otherworldly guides and float through the kitchen's solid wood door without knowing how she accomplished it. She drifted in an oval-shaped craft, and before she could completely comprehend her surroundings, she sensed a change in speed as the craft shot skyward. Betty explained that before going into a tank of liquid, a number of tests and procedures were conducted. Additionally, she was given a strange substance to drink that was supposed to calm her down. Before she knew it, she was floating in the direction of another room. She was greeted by a chorus of odd voices who informed her of their decision to display a significant global event. After this, Betty would return home to find the humanoids still there, but now methodically putting everyone in the family in their beds. Everyone remained in their days. As Betty saw these things happen, one of the humanoids would say that although they were there to aid humanity, people would be afraid of them. Additionally, Betty stated that she was informed that these animals were not constrained by time. Betty wouldn't start to remember what had happened that night until 10 years later. Even yet, everything returned in full except for the weird lights and the 5 creatures entering the room when she experienced hypnotic regression under Dr. Raymond Fowler's supervision. Between January 1977 and January 1978, she experienced her first series of hypnotic regressions over a 12-month period. Despite the fact that she would continue to see Dr. Fowler for sessions well into the 1990s, the stories of her initial encounter were intriguing, perhaps not least because of the volume of circumstantial, if supporting, evidence that would give them credibility. For instance, Betty would say that her husband's hospitalization after a vehicle accident was the reason her parents were with her. This is supported by hospital records, which document her husband's admission between mid-January and early March 1967. She also remembered that there was fog and snow on the ground, but the air was warmer than it should have been. Temperature increases caused mist to rise from melting snow, according to weather records. At the same time that Betty remembered the power being out in their house, there was also a power outage in the area that evening. Her father could remember a child in a Halloween costume peering through the window, but he was in a trance during the entire experience. Even television schedule records would demonstrate that their claims about what was broadcast on television before the occurrence were accurate. Other experiences Betty would share with Dr. Fowler in later sessions. She was only 7 years old in 1944 when she had her first encounter. An odd red orb entered the tiny play area and sat between her eyes while she was waiting for a buddy in a playhouse. Her head started to ring as it did so, alerting her to the strange voices that were observing her. They also promised to get together again when she turned 12, which they did in 1949, 5 years later. A grey creature wearing a one-piece coverall covered with buttons and symbols emerged in front of her as she was strolling in a woodland in the adjacent town of Westminster. A crimson orb appeared when it clicked a button on its coverall. As before, the orb landed between her eyes on her face. Once more, the unfamiliar but now recognizable voices invaded her mind. She would have one of the most strange sightings in history a year later, in 1950, when she was confronted by an orb-like object. After she boarded, a peculiar device was inserted into her mouth to restrain her tongue. She ended up on a strange wheel composed of something that looked like rubber. The craft would emerge in an underground base after entering a body of water, but she was unsure of the exact location. Betty would disclose an increasing number of experiences as the hypnosis sessions re-examined the decades. She recounted multiple instances of waking up to discover uncanny things in her bedroom. She would even get warnings about difficult things that were coming up in her life. For instance, she was told by a bedroom visitor in 1975 that her marriage would result in divorce, which it did. In 1977, 2 years later, she received a warning that 2 of her sons would pass away. Both lost their lives in an automobile accident a short time later. In December 2018, a remarkable event unfolded in the skies above one of the most secure and well-known locations on Earth, the Pentagon. According to numerous eyewitness accounts, a large pyramid-shaped object was seen hovering above the Pentagon during the night, seemingly defying gravity and the usual understanding of aerial technology. This mysterious object was reportedly caught on camera from various angles by multiple witnesses, and the footage soon found its way to social media platforms, where it quickly went viral. The event was discussed widely, with many speculating about the origin and purpose of the UFO. However, in the years since the sighting, especially by 2024, much of the footage and photographic evidence has become increasingly difficult to find, leading some to suggest that the majority of this evidence has been quietly deleted from the internet, raising suspicions about a potential cover-up. The pyramid-shaped UFO spotted above the Pentagon in 2018 immediately stood out due to both its unusual shape and its location. The object was described as being massive in size, stationary, and hovering directly above the Pentagon, a symbol of US military power. Multiple reports stated that the object was either emitting a faint glow or reflecting light from the surrounding city. The event took place at night, making the illumination of the object even more conspicuous against the dark sky. What made this particular UFO sighting stand out even more was the number of angles from which the object was reportedly filmed. Various witnesses across different parts of Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia captured images and videos of the object from their phones, providing multiple perspectives of the event. These videos circulated widely on social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The pyramid shape of the UFO led to a flurry of speculation online, with theories ranging from experimental military technology to extraterrestrial visitors. For a brief time, the Pentagon UFO became a viral sensation, attracting the attention of not only UFO enthusiasts, but also mainstream media. Some news outlets covered the sighting, though coverage was generally cautious, focusing more on the strange nature of the event, rather than offering any definitive explanation. Initial attempts by skeptics to debunk the footage were met with difficulty, as the object did not conform to conventional explanations like weather balloons, drones, or aircraft. Despite the initial excitement surrounding the pyramid-shaped UFO sighting, by 2024, finding the original videos and images has become an increasingly difficult task. Searches for footage on popular video-sharing platforms and social media yield few results, and many of the original posts appear to have been taken down. Even on discussion forums like Reddit and UFO-specific websites, references to the event are often accompanied by broken links or claims that videos have been removed. This slow disappearance of evidence has sparked speculation that the footage may have been deliberately suppressed or deleted. While it is not uncommon for some content to be removed from the internet for various reasons, such as copyright issues or inactivity, the near-total erasure of evidence related to such a significant sighting has raised eyebrows. Many UFO enthusiasts have pointed to this as a potential cover-up, suggesting that authorities may have acted to suppress the evidence due to the sensitive location of the sighting, or because the object represented advanced technology that needed to remain classified. The idea that much of the footage has been erased from the internet adds a layer of intrigue to the event. In today's hyper-connected world, it is exceedingly rare for something as public as a UFO sighting, especially one witnessed and filmed by multiple people, to effectively disappear. The difficulty in locating footage of the pyramid-shaped UFO has given rise to theories that government agencies or private contractors may have intervened to remove the content. With the footage of the event now scarce, speculation has intensified about what really happened over the Pentagon in December 2018. One popular theory is that the object was an advanced piece of military technology, possibly part of a secretive program to develop new types of aircraft or defense systems. The Pentagon has long been associated with clandestine research and development projects, and some believe that the pyramid-shaped UFO was a prototype of a new craft that had not yet been disclosed to the public. According to this theory, the sudden removal of the footage is part of an effort to maintain secrecy surrounding this technology. Another theory, more favored by UFO enthusiasts, is that the object was not of earthly origin, but rather an extraterrestrial craft. The pyramid shape, which is less common in UFO sightings than the traditional saucer or triangular shapes, has led some to suggest that the object may represent a type of advanced technology that has not been widely encountered before. Advocates of this theory point to the location of the sighting, the Pentagon, as potentially significant. If advanced visitors were interested in observing human military power or conducting reconnaissance, the Pentagon would be a logical place for such an observation. Others have suggested that the object might have been part of a joint human-extraterrestrial project. This theory, often dismissed as too speculative, posits that secret collaborations between government agencies and alien visitors could be taking place, and that the pyramid-shaped object was one manifestation of this cooperation. According to this line of thinking, the removal of footage would be necessary to prevent the public from becoming aware of such activities. The difficulty in finding images and footage of the 2018 Pentagon UFO has led many to question whether a deliberate effort has been made to erase this event from public memory. While some point to technical reasons for the disappearance, such as social media platforms automatically deleting old posts or users voluntarily removing content, others see a more deliberate hand at work. The fact that footage of a large pyramid-shaped object hovering above one of the most secure buildings in the world is now nearly impossible to find only deepens the sense that something is being hidden. The Mystery of Mike DeGruy. American documentary filmmaker Mike DeGruy has greatly advanced our knowledge of the secrets of the ocean with his amazing underwater photography. Among his other noteworthy accomplishments, the identification and recording of an undersea saline pool is among the most fascinating. Scientists and viewers were enthralled with this amazing phenomena, which is also referred to as a lake inside the sea, which highlighted the intricacies and marvels of aquatic habitats. De Gruy immediately became well known in the world of wildlife films, thanks to his exceptional ability to blend scientific knowledge with cinematic flair. He collaborated with esteemed institutions like the BBC and National Geographic during his career, winning multiple accolades for his contributions. De Gruy made one of his most amazing discoveries while on a Gulf of Mexico excursion. During the process of filming Blue Planet, De Gruy and his crew came into an underwater brine pool. This unique feature, also called a brine lake, is simply a very salinized body of water that forms a clear and apparent boundary because it is denser than the surrounding seawater. The brine pool De Gruy saw was about 20 meters in diameter and was around 3,300 feet below the surface. The brine pool's discovery was noteworthy from a scientific perspective, as well as aesthetically pleasing. The pool's rich, briny water produced a glittering surface that resembled an underwater lake, replete with shorelines and waves. The phenomenon is brought about by salt deposits on the bottom, which combine with the surrounding salt water to form a brine that is extremely concentrated. Because of its density, this brine separates into a distinct layer from the less salted seawater above. A unique window into one of the strangest habitats on the ocean was offered by De Gruy's footage of the brine pool. A strange and alien landscape was formed by the sharp contrast between the clean seawater above and the black, viscous brine below. With the use of De Gruy's distinctive cinematography, this visual extravaganza was able to introduce a wider audience to the wonders of the deep sea. The brine pool has notable significance for marine research, in addition to being a visual wonder. The majority of marine life cannot survive in these harsh conditions created by the pools, but certain creatures that have evolved to withstand the high salinity and low oxygen content call them home. For instance, specific bacterial species flourish in these environments and serve as the foundation of distinct ecosystems. Researching these creatures can reveal information about the boundaries of life on Earth, as well as the possibility of life existing in similarly harsh conditions on other worlds. In one spot, a large, extremely salty pool of brine had formed, creating the illusion of a lake beneath the surface. Only microscopic life is able to survive in this dense lake because its salinity is 5 times higher than that of the surrounding environment. Mollusks and crustaceans line the shore of this underwater lake. According to De Gruy, there was only mud on the opposite side of the mussels. The underground brine lake's density causes submarines to essentially bounce off of it rather than pass through it, which is maybe its most intriguing feature. Mike De Gruy clarified that although he and his team attempted to dive into the lake, they discovered that the water was so very thick that the submersible rebounded off the surface. This finding piqued his curiosity, and he desired to investigate more, discovering that there might be a completely new planet beneath this vast lake. According to cited statements, Mike De Gruy said the following: "The underwater scene I saw while filming for Blue Planet is without a doubt one of the most incredible things I have ever seen. It was situated in the Mexican Gulf. Something caught my attention from a distance, but I was unable to identify it. It appeared to be a black band. When we got closer to the dark band, it turned into a donut. This donut caught my eye. Its center was black. As we approached it more closely, I saw that the black band had what appeared to be steam on top of it. However, water was lapping up on the coast. This band looked like a mussel ring. A lake lay inside the ring of mussels. We stepped out over the ocean, attempted to jump from it, and descended it. The submarine was unable to enter it. We just seemed to bounce off it. It is unlike anything I have ever seen." End quote. Mike was going to go down into the lake and see what was below there. However, fate had other plans. Mike De Gruy tragically lost his life in an Australian helicopter disaster in 2012 while he was filming a documentary. Nonetheless, his vast collection of work continues on, educating and inspiring upcoming generations of scientists, filmmakers, and environmentalists. Marine science and nature documentaries have been forever changed by De Gruy's love of the ocean and his commitment to revealing its secrets to the public. Tom and Eileen Lonergan disappearance. In January 1998, Tom and Eileen Lonergan went on a group scuba diving excursion to the Coral Sea. However, they were unintentionally left behind, and were never heard from again. Tom and Eileen Lonergan, an American married couple, departed Port Douglas, Australia by boat with a party on January 25, 1998. They were heading to one of the most well-liked dive sites in the Great Barrier Reef, St. Crispin's Reef. However, a terrible thing was going to happen. They were apparently mistakenly abandoned at sea and left in open water during the dive. Both of them vanished from sight, and their precise whereabouts are still a horrifying mystery. After spending a year in Fiji as Peace Corps volunteers, Tom and Eileen were returning home on that late January day. On their journey, they made a detour in Queensland, Australia, so they could dive the greatest coral reef system in the world. The scuba boat carried 26 tourists who were booked through the diving business Outer Edge. The boat's skipper, Jeffrey Nairn, took the lead as they sailed to their target, which was located 25 miles off the coast of Queensland. The travellers entered the Coral Sea by donning their diving equipment and jumping in. That's about all that is discernible about Tom and Eileen Lonergan. It's possible that the couple will break the surface after around 40 minutes of scuba diving. They see nothing except a bright blue sky and ocean that stretches to the horizon. There isn't a boat ahead or behind, just two lost divers who discover their crew has abandoned them. It is not always fatal to leave divers behind. However, in this instance, it took too long for someone to realize that Tom and Eileen weren't on the returning boat. Unsettlingly, diving weights were discovered at the bottom by another Outer Edge-led dive group that visited the location the day after the event. One of the crew members merely called the discovery a bonus find. It took 2 days for anybody to discover that the Lonergans were missing. It was only discovered when Nairn discovered a bag on board that held their passports, wallets, and other items. There was a major search underway as alarm bells rang. Rescue crews from the air and the sea searched for the pair lost for 3 days. The search included participation from civilian vessels as well as the Navy. Part of the Lonergans' dive equipment washed up on the beach, discovered by rescue personnel. Among these was a dive slate, a device for taking notes underwater. Their parents denied this theory, claiming that the entries had been misinterpreted. Most people agreed that the pair drowned or was devoured by sharks, as a result of being dehydrated and confused. Coroner Noel Noonan accused Nairn of unlawfully taking the life of the individuals in a pending court case. Noonan stated that the skipper should ensure safety measures are carried out and be vigilant for the safety of passengers. Given the quantity and gravity of the errors, Noonan was confident that a fair jury would find Mr. Nairn guilty based on criminal evidence. Nairn was declared innocent. However, the business was forced out of business after admitting guilt to carelessness and receiving a fine. The case of Tom and Eileen Lonergan also led to tighter safety rules from the government, such as headcount verification and other identification procedures. Based on the tragic circumstances of Tom and Eileen Lonergan's final dive and untimely disappearance, the 2003 film Open Water was released. The mysterious disappearance of Walter Powell. The disappearance of Walter Powell, a British politician and Member of Parliament for Malmesbury, remains one of the most intriguing and unsolved mysteries of the 19th century. Powell vanished under mysterious circumstances on December 10, 1881, while on a balloon flight, never to be seen again. Walter Powell was born in 1842 into a well-to-do family. He was educated at prestigious institutions and went on to become a solicitor before entering politics. In 1868, Powell was elected as the Conservative MP for Malmesbury, a position he held until his disappearance. Known for his dedication and eloquence, Powell was a respected figure in his constituency and the broader political landscape of the United Kingdom. In addition to his political career, Powell had a keen interest in science and technology, particularly in the emerging field of aeronautics. During the late 19th century, ballooning was gaining popularity as both a sport and a means of scientific exploration. Powell became an enthusiastic balloonist, joining the Aeronautical Society of Great Britain and participating in several balloon flights. His passion for aeronautics was well known, and he often spoke about the potential of ballooning to advance scientific knowledge and improve communication. On December 10, 1881, Powell embarked on what would be his final balloon flight. Accompanied by Captain Alfred Templar and Mr. Arthur Agg Gardner, Powell took off from Bath in a balloon named Saladin. The trio intended to make a routine flight and return within a few hours. However, the weather conditions that day were far from ideal. Strong winds and thick fog quickly enveloped the balloon, making navigation difficult. As the balloon drifted over the Bristol Channel, it became apparent that the situation was becoming perilous. Witnesses on the ground reported seeing the balloon struggling against the elements, being pushed further out to sea. In an attempt to regain control, Powell and his companions jettisoned ballast to ascend above the fog, but the effort was in vain. The balloon continued to drift out of sight, and the last visual contact with Saladin was reported near the coast of Wales. Captain Templar and Mr. Ag Gardner managed to survive the ordeal. They recounted that the balloon had descended dangerously low over the choppy waters of the channel. Realizing the imminent danger, Templar and Ag Gardner jumped from the balloon, landing in the sea where they were later rescued by a passing vessel. Powell, however, did not jump. Witnesses reported seeing him still in the basket as the balloon ascended once more and disappeared into the clouds. Despite extensive search efforts by the Royal Navy and private vessels, neither Powell nor the balloon was ever found. The disappearance of Walter Powell sparked widespread speculation and numerous theories. Some believed that the balloon had been carried far out to sea, leading to Powell's demise in the cold Atlantic waters. Others suggested that he might have survived the initial disappearance, only to perish later on a remote, uninhabited island. The lack of any concrete evidence, however, left these theories unconfirmed, and Powell's fate remained an unsolved mystery. Powell's disappearance had a profound impact on his family, colleagues, and the public. In Parliament, his colleagues paid tribute to his contributions as a dedicated MP and expressed deep sorrow over his loss. The tragedy also underscored the inherent dangers of ballooning, leading to increased calls for improved safety measures and protocols for aerial navigation. In the years following Powell's disappearance, his story became part of local folklore, with occasional reports of sightings and mysterious artifacts purportedly linked to him or the balloon. These claims, though often sensationalized, reflect the enduring fascination with the mystery of Walter Powell. His legacy as an early aeronaut and a committed public servant endures, symbolizing both the adventurous spirit of the age and the tragic uncertainties that can accompany it. The disappearance of Walter Powell remains a poignant reminder of the risks faced by pioneers in the field of aeronautics and the unpredictable nature of early ballooning. It also highlights the broader theme of human curiosity and the desire to explore the unknown, even at great personal risk. Powell's life and mysterious end continue to captivate historians and the public, representing a compelling chapter in the history of both British politics and early aviation. Did ancient civilizations use sound technology? There has been much speculation about whether ancient civilizations used sound technology to accomplish various tasks. While there is no definitive evidence to suggest that this was the case, there are some intriguing clues that suggest that ancient peoples may have had a much greater understanding of sound and vibration than we previously thought. One of the most intriguing pieces of evidence for the use of sound technology in ancient civilizations is the presence of various acoustic structures that have been discovered around the world. These structures, which include things like stone circles, megaliths, and pyramids, have been found to have remarkable acoustic properties that suggest they may have been designed for a specific purpose. For example, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt has been found to have a complex series of chambers and shafts that seem to have been designed to amplify sound. Similarly, the megaliths at Stonehenge in England have been found to have a variety of acoustic properties that suggest they may have been used for ritual purposes. In addition to these acoustic structures, there are also various legends and myths from ancient cultures that suggest that sound was used for a variety of purposes. For example, in Hindu mythology, the god Shiva is often depicted as playing a drum that is said to have the power to destroy the universe. Another interesting clue comes from the work of researchers like Dr. Hans Jenny, who discovered that certain sound frequencies can cause matter to vibrate and take on specific geometric shapes. This suggests that ancient peoples may have had an understanding of sound and vibration that allowed them to create complex geometric patterns in their art and architecture. While there is no definitive evidence to suggest that ancient civilizations used sound technology in the way that we use it today, there is certainly enough evidence to suggest that they had a much greater understanding of sound and vibration than we previously thought. As our understanding of the physics of sound continues to evolve, it is likely that we will discover even more clues about the role that sound played in ancient cultures. The manipulation of sound waves, a concept known as acoustic levitation, has fascinated researchers and scientists for decades. The ability to use sound vibrations to suspend and move objects without physical contact holds promise in various fields, including materials handling, pharmaceuticals, and even levitating stones. Acoustic levitation relies on sound waves to create standing waves that exert forces on an object, countering the force of gravity. When sound waves intersect and interfere constructively, they produce regions of high pressure, known as antinodes, and regions of low pressure, known as nodes. An object placed at a node remains stable due to the balancing effect of the forces acting on it, effectively defying gravity and appearing suspended in mid-air. The ability to manipulate sound waves and control their interference patterns opens up possibilities for the non-contact handling and manipulation of objects, including potentially lifting heavy stones without the need for physical support or mechanical intervention. Acoustic levitation has been demonstrated with small objects like droplets of liquid, particles, and lightweight materials. Despite the hurdles, acoustic levitation holds promise for a range of applications. In the materials industry, it could revolutionize the handling of fragile or sensitive materials, eliminating the need for physical contact and reducing the risk of damage during transport or processing. In the construction and engineering fields, acoustic levitation may find applications in carefully positioning and aligning small stones or construction elements. For instance, in architectural design, precise positioning of stones with minimal contact could be beneficial for creating artistic and intricate structures. To make acoustic levitation practical for lifting stones, researchers must address the challenges associated with energy requirements, material properties, and acoustic stability. The mystery of the knucker. In the rich tapestry of English folklore, dragons have long held a place of prominence, appearing as symbols of power, mystery, and fear. One particularly intriguing dragon is the knucker, a legendary water-dwelling beast said to inhabit knucker holes, deep ponds or wells, in the county of Sussex, England. The knucker dragon, though lesser known than its more famous counterparts in mythology, has captivated the imagination of local communities for centuries. Stories of this aquatic dragon have been passed down through generations, blending elements of local geography, mystery, and a sense of ancient wonder. While dragons in other traditions often soar through the sky or dwell in caves, the knucker is a distinctly water-bound creature, making its home in the murky depths of these bottomless ponds scattered across Sussex. The legends surrounding the knucker dragon, its encounters with brave knights, and its mysterious homes in knucker holes remain a fascinating part of England's rich folklore. The knucker holes, believed to be the lairs of the knucker dragon, are a series of natural ponds found primarily in the southern part of England, particularly in the county of Sussex. These ponds are characterized by their depth, murkiness, and often mysterious nature. Some locals believe that these knucker holes are bottomless, with legends suggesting they extend deep into the earth, connecting with subterranean rivers or even the sea. It was believed that these dark, still waters were perfect hiding places for the knucker dragon, a creature that thrived in such shadowy and unreachable depths. One of the most famous knucker holes is found near the village of Lyminster, located close to Arundel. Known as the Lyminster Knucker Hole, it is a pond that has long been associated with stories of a fearsome water dragon that terrorized the local population. Legend has it that this dragon would emerge from the water to raid nearby farms, devouring livestock and even people before returning to its watery lair. One of the most enduring stories of the knucker dragon comes from Lyminster. According to the legend, the dragon terrorized the local villagers, emerging from its pond to wreak havoc on the community. The villagers, terrified and helpless, watched as their crops were destroyed, their livestock eaten, and their very lives threatened by the monster. In desperation, the local lord called for a hero to rid the village of the beast. In some versions of the tale, a local man stepped forward to slay the dragon. Armed only with his wits and a well-cooked meal, Jim Puttock is said to have devised a clever plan to outsmart the knucker. He cooked a massive meat pie and laced it with poison, leaving it near the pond. The dragon, greedy and unsuspecting, devoured the pie and soon succumbed to the poison, bringing peace to the villagers of Lyminster. Another rendition depicts the dragon being taken out by a knight after the King of Sussex proposed his daughter's marriage to anyone who vanquished the creature. Legend has it that following his marriage to the princess, the knight established his residence in Lyminster, and his tombstone, known as the Slayer's Slab, is visible in Lyminster Church. The Travis Walton Encounter. The Travis Walton case is one of the most famous and widely debated encounter stories in modern history. It took place in November 1975 in the forests of Arizona, when a young logger named Travis Walton disappeared under mysterious circumstances. What made this case so compelling was not just the nature of Walton's story, but the fact that it was witnessed by multiple individuals. Walton's return 5 days later, with an incredible story of a mysterious encounter, has led to endless speculation, skepticism, and fascination. The incident remains one of the most credible and enduring cases in the realm of UFO encounters, raising questions about the unknown and our place in the universe. On the evening of November 5, 1975, at around 6 in the evening, after a strenuous day of felling trees in the Apache Sitgreaves area of the U.S. National Forest, 7 employed woodcutters were returning to Snowflake, Arizona, riding in Michael Rogers' pickup truck. While engaged in conversation, the individuals, namely Rogers and Walton as previously described, together with Ken Peterson, John Goulet, Steve Pierce, Alan Dallas, and Dwayne Smith, abruptly became aware of an unusual radiance emanating from the forest that pressed against the roadside. Upon suspecting a forest fire, all the guys exhibited heightened vigilance as they were acutely aware of the potential danger of being trapped in such a predicament. The Mutual UFO Network report on the incident states that when they neared the hill on the road where the light was originating, they spotted a conspicuous silver disc suspended over a clearing in the roadways. The object emitted a luminous glow, illuminating the area of ground directly beneath it. Perplexed by the sight before him, Rogers would abruptly halt the vehicle. Immediately upon doing so, and without any prior notice, Walton would swiftly exit the passenger side door and proceed straight towards the peculiar, luminous vessel. Overlooking or disregarding the pleas and demands of the other woodcutting team, Walton persisted until he reached a position exactly beneath the mysterious object. Shortly thereafter, peculiar mechanical turbine-like sounds started to permeate the atmosphere. Simultaneously, the aeroplane started to oscillate, remaining in its suspended position. Perhaps now perceiving an impending event, Walton cautiously moved back and gradually started to retreat. Next, emerged the stream of blue-green illumination. Reports from UFO researcher Jerome Clark indicate that the witnesses, positioned inside the truck, observed a blue-green beam striking Walton directly in the chest. This resulted in his vertical ascent of 1 foot, with his arms and legs extended, and a forceful backward movement of around 10 feet. Throughout this, Walton stayed within the illumination of the ship's navigational beacon. Abruptly, he was forcefully propelled to the ground as if he had made contact with a live wire, hurting his shoulder upon landing. His body was slouched, looking lifeless. That is precisely what the remaining members of the group first hypothesized as they hastily departed from the scene. The specific events that followed and the precise time frame differ somewhat from one source to another. Nevertheless, it seems that following their initial escape from the scene, the remaining 6 individuals opted to revisit the vicinity with the intention of recovering their buddy and colleague. In doing so, he ceased to exist. Despite their certainty of the accurate location, he was conspicuously absent. Exceeding mere unease and teetering on the brink of panic, the men would proceed to a shopping center located in the adjacent town of Heber. Once again, although the precise time frame may vary somewhat, typically ranging from 7:30 to 8, Ken Peterson, acting on behalf of all 6 individuals, contacted the local police. Deputy Sheriff Chuck Ellison assisted him by answering his call. During the phone conversation, Peterson only mentioned that one of their crew members had disappeared, but Ellison nevertheless agreed to meet them at their designated place. However, upon his arrival, the men, all clearly upset, with several on the verge of tears, would recount precisely what they had witnessed. Undoubtedly, Ellison was surprised by the unconventional character of such a grave assertion. Nevertheless, he would subsequently describe the men's demeanor and conduct as exceptionally proficient, if they were indeed engaged in performance. At this point, Ellison, feeling somewhat overwhelmed by the peculiarity of the apparent event, resolved to reach out to his superior, Sheriff Marlin Gillespie. His directive was to instruct the men to stay at the shopping center under his careful watch until he could come. At approximately 9 in the evening, Gillespie, accompanied by police officer Ken Copeland, arrived at the Heber police station. By this juncture, a growing number of crew members, including Rogers, were experiencing heightened levels of anxiety. Given the evident absence of any activity, Rogers would insist on the prompt initiation of a search and the rapid return to the location of the occurrence. Notwithstanding the inability to employ any police search dogs, a number of officers, including Rogers, Peterson, and Dallas, conducted an examination of the site. Nevertheless, Walton was nowhere to be found. Furthermore, crucially to their suspicions, there was no evidence of any activities as inappropriate as the crew were alleging had occurred. Meanwhile, the surviving crew members would retreat to Snowflake and commence the process of notifying their family and friends about the peculiar circumstances. As the evening progressed, the search would need to be postponed until the early hours of the morning. Nevertheless, the police harbored apprehension that Walton, who was attired solely in jeans, shirt, and a lightweight jacket, would succumb to the harsh, winter-like and frigid circumstances of the woodland. Copeland would accompany Roger to the residence of Walton's mother, Mary Walton Kellett, in order to apprise her of the circumstances and the verified testimony of the witnesses. Her reply and general attitude would appear peculiar to Copeland. Rogers recounted her son's disappearance to her, to which she attentively listened before requesting him to reiterate the story. Next, she inquired whether anyone other than the crew and the cops were cognizant of the issue. Copeland deemed it an atypical reaction from a mother who was informed that her son was lost. Ultimately, it would only strengthen his skepticism of one falsehood or another concerning Walton's sudden vanishing. Yet, a more thorough examination of Walton's mother's overall character would indicate that this detached kind of reaction aligns with her personality and attitude. She had, for instance, single-handedly raised 6 children, mostly by herself and under challenging conditions. Her public displays of emotions were ultimately characterized by a high degree of reserve. Over the course of several days, however, the stress grew increasingly evident for obvious observers. During the night at which Walton went missing, she would reach out to Dwayne, his brother. Upon receiving the news, he would journey from his residence in Glendale, Arizona, to Snowflake. On the subsequent day, November 6th, when the sun illuminated the area completely, the region was once again meticulously examined. On this occasion, a far larger number of individuals participated in the operation, inclusive of several volunteers from the nearby neighborhood. Yet, once more, Travis Walton was completely absent. Privately, the police harbored suspicions that the UFO narrative was deliberately fabricated to conceal an accident. Within a few days, information about the incident started to circulate among journalists from various sensationalist tabloid journals, as well as UFO investigators of varying levels of authenticity and expertise. One of the UFO investigators, Fred Sylvanus, originated from Phoenix. Irrespective of the integrity of his motives, the interviews he conducted with Michael Rogers and Walton's brother Dwayne would thereafter be frequently cited by skeptics. It may have been detrimental that both men publicly and possibly accurately expressed criticism towards the police's efforts in locating their colleague and brother. Of greater significance and, to some extent, a legitimate source of worry throughout the years was Rogers' acknowledgement that he would no longer be capable of carrying out his land deal. Over time, as Walton's disappearance continued and multiple unsuccessful searches of the Turkey Springs area where the group had been operating were conducted, the crew members started to face growing suspicion. By virtue of the prolonged duration of his absence, coupled with the extremely cold temperatures experienced during the initial 2 nights of his disappearance, the police gradually shifted their focus from a search and rescue operation to one focused on recovering the young man's remains. Following the completion of the second comprehensive day of searching, the police would approach the crew members and propose that they participate in a lie detector test. Initially, They had proposed to undergo any form of examination in the hours after the disappearance to substantiate the veracity of their narrative. A polygraph examiner, Cy Gilson, who is widely regarded in his profession for his impartiality and precision in obtaining such results, would administer the tests. With the exception of Alan Dallas, who did not fail the test but had inconclusive results, all crew members achieved perfect scores on the tests. Furthermore, it was well known that Dallas had a strained relationship with Walton. Despite the crew members' vigorous efforts, his inconclusive outcome implicated him as the sole culprit for what the authorities were becoming more certain was Walton's passing. Coincidentally, in 1993, Gilson conducted a retest of Mike Rogers, Alan Dallas, and Travis Walton just under 2 decades after the initial test. He would utilize a cutting-edge computer. Each of the 3 males successfully completed the test. In the winter of 1975, amidst accusations of wrongdoing, Walton's sister, Grant Neff, received an unexpected phone call shortly after midnight on the evening of November 10th, which extended into November 11th. Travis was situated at the opposite end. Walton exhibited signs of confusion, panic, and disorientation. His sister successfully obtained relevant information indicating that he was making a phone call from an Exxon station located in close proximity. Grant and Walton's brother, Dwayne, promptly jumped into their vehicle and proceeded towards Heber, where they saw Walton huddled on the floor of the phone booth at the gas station. Years later, Walton would recount his initial recollections of awakening after his 5-day enforced disappearance. He asserts that he regained consciousness, reclining on my abdomen with his head resting on his extended arm. He promptly perceived the frigid temperature of the air and was immediately roused from sleep. At that moment, he observed a luminous display on the underside of a sinuous, lustrous hull. Subsequently, he observed the reflected contour of a plated disc suspended in the air above him. He would approximate the dimension of the vessel to be roughly 40 feet in length. For a number of moments, it hovered silently over him. Moving solely with his gaze, he traced the path of the vehicle, observing the night sky, the surrounding trees, and the highway center line reflected in the curved mirror of its hull. Instantaneously, a sensation of warmth gently touched the uncovered skin of his body. Subsequently, the object propelled itself upward into the sky. Then, the craft vanished. Upon reflection, Walton would later remember that the most notable aspect of its departure was its tranquility. Upon escorting Walton to his mother's residence, his brother Dwayne would then transport him to a medical facility located in Phoenix. Following some early opposition, all parties involved agreed to provide the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization the authority to pursue the matter. Without delay, they would arrange for Walton to undergo examinations by 2 separate physicians. Walton says that his most vivid recollection was of being struck by the beam of light while positioned beneath the luminous disc. Shortly thereafter, he found himself reclining on a flat surface, resembling a sleeping bed. His first observation was that the air was humid and weighty. Simultaneously, he experienced acute, all-encompassing pain. A beam of light illuminated him from above. Every inhalation was inherently arduous and agonizing. Initially, he held the belief that he was situated within a hospital premises. Subsequently, he observed the presence of 3 individuals positioned around him. Each being wore an orange tunic. However, it was evident to Walton that they were completely devoid of human characteristics. Subsequently, he would assert that these figures stood at a height of approximately 5 feet, surely not exceeding that, and have peculiar hairless and oversized heads. Their eyes were of equal size. He would characterize them as nearly brown, with minimal visible white. Furthermore, their facial features were noticeably smaller than their apparent size indicated. The overall description Walton was providing was that of 3 grey beings. Propelled by a sudden release of fear-induced adrenaline, Walton swiftly descended off the bed and promptly stood up. He vociferously admonished the 3 exotic beings, cautioning them to refrain from approaching. As he retreated, he successfully retrieved a glass, cylindrical object from a shelf. His objective was to sabotage the object and employ it as a weapon. Nevertheless, he was unable to fracture it. Instead, he waggled it in the direction of the 3 creatures and persisted in shouting. To his astonishment, they withdrew and vacated the room. Without delay, Walton also departed from the room, Proceeding down a corridor, he quickly arrived at a circular chamber. He observed an unusual chair with an excessively enlarged back positioned in the center of the room. In a deliberate manner, Walton advanced towards the chair. As he entered the chamber, other lights started to illuminate the surroundings. Assuring himself he was still the sole occupant, he surveyed the captivating and mysterious chamber. Content, he proceeded, seated in the chair. Upon doing so, lights illuminated the entire space, evoking memories of a planetarium ceiling for Walton. The left-hand arm of the chair was equipped with a solitary, narrow, thick lever featuring an unusually shaped grip. Placed on the opposite arm was a lime-green screen emitting a radiant warmth. Walton depressed the lever, causing the lights to revolve until he released it, prompting them to come to a halt in their new position. Realizing abruptly that he lacked a clear understanding of the functions of such buttons and levers, he rose from his seat. As he did so, the lights positioned above him extinguished. He then perceived a sound emanating from behind. Turning around, he observed a towering humanoid figure wearing a transparent helmet. The frame was adorned with blue coveralls. Walton proceeded to ask the man direct questions, but he either remained oblivious or disregarded him. Instead, he would signal to him that he needed to trail behind him. Accordingly, Walton proceeded to track the towering figure down a separate corridor. Descending a steep incline, he promptly entered another spacious chamber, an enclosed space resembling an aeroplane hangar. That was when he became aware that the ramp served as an exit route from the disc-shaped vessel. He observed the vertical descent of two other discs into the hangar directly ahead of him. It is uncertain if Walton was aboard a mothership stationed in Earth's orbit, or in even greater distances in space, or if he was transported to a more terrestrial base on Earth. Nevertheless, he was escorted into a separate chamber where he asserted to have observed 3 individuals, consisting of 2 males and 1 female. Once again, he initiated a series of inquiries directed towards the trio. However, similar to the initial humanoid, they disregarded his investigations. They instead guided him to another table-like device, gesturing for him to take a seat. Prior to his realization of the sequence of events, the woman approached him. Within her grasp, she held a mask-like apparatus. Within an instant, it was securely fastened to his face. Immediately thereafter, he became unconscious. According to Walton, his subsequent recollection is of awakening, lying on his stomach outside the petrol station in the frigid cold. Propelled immediately upwards at an extremely rapid pace after a few seconds was one of the disc-shaped objects positioned above him. It was at that moment, still perplexed, that Walton proceeded to the telephone box immediately adjacent. Mentally, he had the belief that he had been absent for a few hours. Several further details strongly substantiated Walton's assertions. For instance, he displayed a complete 5-day period of uninterrupted beard growth. Furthermore, he exhibited substantial deficiencies in nutrition. What is intriguing, however, is that despite the clearly tangible physical evidence of an extended period of famine, there is also evidence indicating that some kind of fundamental nourishment would have reached Walton. For instance, there were no increased concentrations of electrolytes in the bloodstream, which would typically occur if Walton had been deliberately deprived of all food for an extended duration. Therefore, considering this, whoever or whatever entity that transported Walton from the forests of Arizona and wherever they transported him was sufficiently concerned, prepared, and knowledgeable to provide suitable quantities of water and nutrients in order to avoid any potential long-term harm to his well-being. Additionally, noteworthy are multiple sightings on November 10th, occurring several hours earlier to the assumed reappearance of Walton. While the precise position remains uncertain, the witness claims to have observed a V-shaped arrangement of orange lights over her residence. She patiently awaited the manifestation of the lights. Then, she lost consciousness. Her next recollection is of seated on a spacious chair in an unfamiliar chamber, illuminated by faint lights spread throughout. Through a doorway, she observed multiple human figures moving in a reciprocating motion. Shortly thereafter, she found herself returning to her residence. On the same evening, a report was received from Minot Air Force Base located in North Dakota. As per the report, a luminous celestial body resembling a star, about the dimensions of a vehicle, was traversing the aerial expanse. Rough estimates indicate a height ranging from 1,000 to 2,000 feet, accompanied by the absence of any sound. The observation would be subject to verification by 3 further witnesses. Notably, a number of observations originated from Canada during the early hours of November 11th. The Travis Walton case has had a profound impact on UFO culture and popular media. In 1993, Walton's story was adapted into a film, which brought the incident to an even wider audience. Walton himself has remained active in the UFO community, often speaking at conferences and sharing his experiences with those interested in the possibility of advanced contact. His story continues to be discussed and debated by UFO researchers, skeptics, and enthusiasts alike, serving as a cornerstone of the narrative. As of right now, the Travis Walton case remains one of the most enduring and well-known UFO incidents in history. Whether viewed as a genuine encounter with advanced beings or as a compelling yet unproven story, the case has captivated the imaginations of millions. For believers, Walton's story is a testament to the possibility that we are not alone in the universe. For skeptics, it is a reminder of the power of belief and the cultural fascination with the unknown. Regardless of where one stands on the question of UFOs, the Travis Walton case continues to provoke questions about the mysteries of the universe and humanity's place within it. More than 4 decades later, the story remains as fascinating as ever, inspiring continued speculation and investigation into the possibility that there is more to our world than meets the eye. The mystery of Azo Basu. In the year 1931, near Marrakesh, Morocco, an individual with striking similarities to a Neanderthal was discovered. Resembling our ancient ancestors, this individual possessed a sloping forehead, a prominent lower jaw, and robust brow ridges. Living in a cave, he relied on sticks and stones to gather plants and hunt animals, leading a primitive lifestyle. Referred to as Azo Basu, his discovery garnered global attention. Before being photographed, he had to be clothed as it was reported that he did not wear any on a day-to-day basis. However, once the filming was over, he eagerly discarded the unnecessary items. Azo Basu, a mysterious individual, resided in the Dades Valley. He made his home in a cave and sustained himself solely on a diet of plants and raw food, lacking the knowledge of harnessing fire. Those who interacted with him reported that his communication skills were quite limited, often resorting to expressing himself through various emotional sounds. Along with his roughly defined facial features, his arms were exceptionally long, reaching his knees, and he possessed flat feet. In the 20th century, scientists conceptualized Neanderthals in this manner, leading to Azo Basu being regarded as one of our ancient ancestors. Following numerous newspaper articles, the individual gained significant fame, attracting numerous tourists who specifically traveled to Morocco to witness the recently unearthed prehistoric figure. In 1956, Jean Boulet, a writer, and Marcel Gomet, an ethnologist, embarked on a journey to examine the physical characteristics of the discovered individual and draw comparisons to Neanderthal remains. Much to their astonishment, they discovered numerous resemblances between Azo Basu and the ancient population. This revelation prompted journalists to enthusiastically produce renewed coverage about the individual in newspapers. Azo Basu would go on to make several appearances in the press. Scientists were unable to fully study the man as he passed away during the research process. According to various news outlets, Azo Basu passed away when he was 60 years old. However, due to the lack of information surrounding his birthplace and date, it is difficult to ascertain his exact age. In an effort to uncover more about this ancient man, scientists conducted a search in Morocco and eventually discovered 2 girls named Hissa and Herkaya, who also exhibited peculiar cranial features similar to Azo Basu. This discovery raises the question of whether Neanderthals truly inhabited Morocco. It is highly unlikely that Neanderthals persisted undiscovered in Morocco for thousands of years, considering the fact that the last known Neanderthals disappeared approximately 40,000 years ago. The demise of Neanderthals is attributed to conflicts with other ancient human populations or succumbing to cold-related diseases. In the event that Neanderthals did manage to survive alongside modern humans, they would have inevitably encountered them over time. Hissa and Herkaya, who were born to modern parents, turned out to have a condition known as microcephaly, characterized by underdeveloped brains and unusually small heads. This condition can be acquired through factors such as radiation exposure, infections, or genetic disorders. Unfortunately, there is currently no known cure for microcephaly, and medical professionals can only alleviate the symptoms of the condition. The mystery of Konrad Haas. It is theorized by certain scholars that Earth may have harbored an advanced civilization in the past. However, due to unknown factors, this civilization was ultimately obliterated. This hypothesis is supported by archaeological discoveries that defy explanation when viewed through the lens of contemporary scientific understanding. Another conjecture proposes that advanced beings may have visited our planet in ancient times, imparting knowledge and advanced technologies to humanity. Consequently, it is possible that these technologies, initially deemed extraordinary, eventually endangered mankind's existence. There is a belief among certain individuals that our predecessors possessed highly advanced technologies that are beyond our comprehension today. Interestingly, it is speculated that some of our modern technologies may have been inspired or influenced by ancient civilizations, despite this knowledge being largely unknown. Concepts such as the existence of ancient flying vehicles are occasionally mentioned in ancient texts. There are claims that our ancestors not only had the ability to traverse outer space, but also possessed a remarkable understanding of the universe that surpasses our current knowledge. In 1963, Romanian engineer Doru Todoriciu conducted an examination of a 450-page manuscript housed in Sibiu's National Archive, formerly known as Hermannstadt. Todoriciu focused on the scientific and technological aspects of the manuscript and categorized it as a comprehensive exploration of artillery and ballistics challenges despite its previous recognition. It was during this examination that Todoriciu discovered the remarkable concepts on rocketry documented by Konrad Haas in the third section of the manuscript. The Sibiu manuscript has garnered significant attention due to its divergence from the existing historical narrative. Limited information is available about Konrad Haas's personal life, but it is known that he was born in Dornbach, near Vienna. Haas served as an artillery guard and commissioned officer at the Imperial Court of Vienna. It is believed that he journeyed to Transylvania alongside the imperial forces in 1551, assuming the role of chief at the Hermannstadt Arsenal's artillery camp. During the years 1529 to 1569, the author wrote the manuscript, which seems to include, among various topics, the earliest elucidation of the fundamental operational principle of the multi-stage rocket. The author discusses the clustering of rockets, the use of stabilizing fins, and the utilization of liquid fuel, while also providing descriptions and illustrations of both two-stage and three-stage rockets. The Sibiu manuscript was composed in the German language and is thought to have been based on even older texts. It provides detailed explanations of the fundamental concepts of rocket science and includes illustrations of three-stage space rockets. Additionally, the manuscript discusses the integration of fireworks with weaponry and even provides instructions on constructing a hang glider. It also outlines the process of creating fuel mixtures for use as liquid rocket propellant. Additionally, there are mentions of moon flights. As per Romanian researchers, the manuscript includes narratives about an individual who successfully reached Earth's satellite by means of an extraordinary aircraft. Furthermore, there are depictions of ancient fuel composed of rare elements. These rocket models were subsequently launched at Cape Kennedy and utilized by astronauts in the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo initiatives. It appears that the chronicler had a glimpse into the world of the future. The handwritten manuscript from Sibiu is quite extensive, spanning 450 pages. The authenticity of the Sibiu manuscript is widely acknowledged by experts who refrain from providing immediate commentary on its contents. This case might be dismissed as mere science fiction, but the discovery of other peculiar texts and technologies by Antiquity researchers suggests otherwise. Furthermore, archaeological findings of various artifacts provide concrete evidence that our ancestors possessed a level of civilization far more advanced than what contemporary historians conceive. Manuscripts like Sibiu have the power to revolutionize our understanding of history. It is still unclear whether Haas was able to effectively utilize his designs and transform them into functioning prototypes. However, there are individuals who argue that a rocket was propelled into the sky in Sibiu during the year 1550. It is widely believed that Konrad Haas was the pioneer behind the creation of this initial rocket. Haas himself claimed that he dedicated over 25 years to the development of an innovative air vehicle. The primary obstacle he encountered during this endeavor was the quest to identify a fuel source that would provide the necessary lift for the rocket to ascend. The main focus of the paper revolves around the fuel problem. In addition to the traditional constituents of saltpeter, sulfur, and coal, Haas also incorporated brandy to enhance the thrust generation of the rockets. As per his instructions, a small amount of crushed powder should be mixed with brandy to form a paste-like consistency. This paste should then be applied to the rocket chamber and the ignition hole. Haas also experimented with other fuels, selecting the specific combination based on the intended purpose of the missile. Konrad Haas, despite his involvement in designing weapons, harbored a covert belief in fundamental human principles. This humanistic inclination is prominently evident in his expression: "I recommend prioritizing peace over war, letting rifles stay untouched under shelter, preventing bullets from being fired and powder from being soaked, thus preserving the prince's wealth and the master's life." The rocket's technical attributes closely resemble those of contemporary vehicles. Its structure consisted of wooden components that were coated with a unique layer of stone powder designed to safeguard the body from combustion caused by friction with the air. It is worth noting that during the 16th century, scientists lacked comprehensive knowledge about the complexities of atmospheric phenomena, which led some to believe that advanced beings provided them with information. Throughout his early years, he dedicated himself to exploring and studying ancient texts discovered within the present-day borders of Egypt. It was believed that a lunar expedition might have occurred in 1550, however. No concrete proof exists to substantiate these assertions. The late Lady Salah Shabazz expressed her concern about the bias and exclusions often found in textbooks. She noted that in an attempt to condense historical timelines, important facts are frequently overlooked, leaving people unaware of their significance. The city of Sibiu holds significance for those familiar with the field of rocketry and modern astronautics, as it is the birthplace of Hermann Oberth, who is recognized as one of the pioneers in these areas. Moreover, the NASA archives contain a specific document that pertains to the Sibiu manuscript, demonstrating its relevance in this field. Viewers who tuned in to watch the broadcast of the Queen's funeral had an unexpected surprise when a mysterious voice unexpectedly accompanied the coverage. The unsettling narration caught many off guard, adding a mysterious and unsettling element to the solemn event. During the live broadcast of the procession escorting the deceased monarch's coffin out of London, a new transmission came onto the broadcast, resulting in a faint whispered voice that interrupted the coverage. The unexpected disruption added a mysterious element to the unfolding event, capturing the attention of viewers. In a brief pause, the male commentator, who had been closely monitoring the events on the live broadcast, suddenly lost his audio connection, and his voice was temporarily substituted by the mysterious female commentator. While it's hard to make out, she appeared to say, "The death is irreversible. The fact that she's trapped."
The death is irreversible, and the fact that she's trapped.
As you can see,
the death is irreversible, and the fact that she's trapped.
as you can see,
the death is irreversible, and the fact that she's trapped.
as you can see.
Some online users suggested that there was a frequency problem, and Monarch insiders were trying to do something that the public wasn't meant to hear. Others carried on and questioned why someone was talking about the Queen being trapped, which caused a variety of strange theories to be put forward in order to explain what the female voice was talking about. Those who heard the mysterious woman's voice even said that the male presenter purposefully talked over her in order to block out what she was saying. The passing of a monarch is a significant event that often carries deep implications for a nation's political stability, cultural identity, and societal cohesion. Throughout history, the passings of kings and queens have been shrouded in secrecy and ritual, with monarch insiders playing a crucial role in managing the transition of power and informing the public in a manner that maintains stability and continuity. One of the primary reasons for keeping a monarch's passing a secret before informing the public is to ensure a smooth transition of power and prevent any potential power vacuum or destabilizing effects on the nation. In monarchical systems, the passing of a monarch often triggers a carefully orchestrated succession process, with designated heirs or successors poised to assume the throne. Monarch insiders, such as royal advisors, courtiers, and high-ranking officials, are entrusted with the task of managing this transition discreetly, allowing the new monarch to assume their duties without undue disruption or uncertainty. Maintaining secrecy surrounding a monarch's passing also serves to preserve the dignity and honor of the royal family, shielding them from unwanted public scrutiny or sensationalism during a period of mourning. By controlling the flow of information and adhering to established protocols and traditions, monarch insiders can ensure that the transition of power proceeds with the solemnity and decorum befitting the occasion, minimizing the risk of controversy or discord within the royal household and among the public. Additionally, keeping a monarch's passing a secret for a brief period allows for the necessary logistical arrangements to be made for the official announcement and funeral proceedings. This may include notifying key stakeholders, coordinating funeral arrangements, and preparing the necessary ceremonial rituals and protocols. Monarch insiders play a pivotal role in overseeing these preparations behind the scenes, working closely with relevant authorities and stakeholders to ensure that everything is in place for a dignified and seamless transition of power. Furthermore, maintaining confidentiality surrounding a monarch's passing can help mitigate any potential political or diplomatic repercussions that may arise from the news. In some cases, the passing of a monarch may have significant implications for the nation's internal politics or its relations with other countries. By exercising discretion and caution in the dissemination of information, monarch insiders can manage these sensitivities and navigate any potential challenges or sensitivities that may arise in the aftermath of the monarch's passing. The process of keeping this a secret typically involves a tightly controlled circle of individuals who are privy to the information. This inner circle may include close family members, trusted advisors, senior government officials, and key figures within the royal household. These individuals are bound by strict codes of confidentiality and loyalty, ensuring that sensitive information remains safeguarded until the appropriate time for its disclosure. Once the necessary arrangements have been made and the new monarch is ready to assume their duties, the official announcement of the monarch's passing is typically made to the public through established channels and protocols. This may involve issuing a formal proclamation or declaration, followed by public ceremonies and rituals to mark the transition of power and mourn the loss of the deceased monarch. The mystery of the princes in the tower is one of the most enduring and intriguing mysteries in English history. Upon his unexpected passing on the 9th of April in 1483, due to an illness that spanned approximately 3 weeks, Edward IV of England left behind a significant political vacuum. During this period, his son, the newly crowned King Edward V, was residing at Ludlow Castle, while Richard, the Duke of Gloucester and Edward's brother, was stationed at Middleham Castle in Yorkshire. News of Edward IV's demise eventually reached Gloucester around the 15th of April, with potential prior knowledge of the king's ailing health. It is documented that upon hearing the news, Gloucester made a public display of his allegiance to the new monarch by visiting York Minster to affirm his loyalty. The historical accounts, such as the Croyland Chronicle, suggest that Edward IV had appointed Gloucester as the Lord Protector before his death. Despite Edward's request, the Privy Council was not obligated to adhere to the deceased king's wishes, as exemplified by the precedent set during Henry V's reign. This situation underscores the complexity of succession and power dynamics during that pivotal historical moment. Edward V and Gloucester embarked on their journeys towards London, approaching from the west and north regions respectively, finally converging at Stony Stratford on the 29th of April. The subsequent day, Gloucester proceeded to apprehend Edward's entourage, which notably included the young boy's uncle, Anthony Woodville, 2nd Earl Rivers, along with their half-brother Sir Richard Grey. This captive group was later transported to Pontefract Castle, situated in Yorkshire, where a grim fate awaited them on the 25th of June in the form of decapitation. Following this event, Gloucester took custody of the young prince, Edward V, which prompted a swift reaction from Elizabeth Woodville. In response, she sought refuge at Westminster Abbey with her son Richard, the Duke of York, and her daughters, in a bid to safeguard them from a similar fate. Edward V and Gloucester arrived in London together. Plans continued for Edward's official coronation, but the date was postponed from the 4th of May to the 25th of June. On the 19th of May, 1483, Edward was lodged in the Tower of London, then the traditional residence of monarchs prior to the coronation. On the 16th of June, he was joined by his younger brother Richard, Duke of York, who was previously in sanctuary. At this point, the date of Edward's coronation was indefinitely postponed by their uncle Gloucester. On Sunday, the 22nd of June, a sermon was preached by Dr. Ralph Shah, brother of the Lord Mayor of London, at St. Paul's Cross, claiming Gloucester to be the only legitimate heir of the House of York. On the 25th of June, a group of lords, knights and gentlemen petitioned Richard to take the throne. Both princes were subsequently declared illegitimate by Parliament. This was confirmed in 1484 by an Act of Parliament known as Titulus Regius. The Act stated that Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville's marriage was invalid because of Edward's pre-contract of marriage with Lady Eleanor Butler. Gloucester was crowned King Richard III of England on the 6th of July. The declaration of the boy's illegitimacy has been described by Rosemary Horrocks as an ex post facto justification for Richard's accession. Dominic Mancini, an Italian friar who visited England in the 1480s and who was in London in the spring and summer of 1484, recorded that after Richard III seized the throne, Edward and his younger brother Richard were taken into the inner apartments of the tower and then were seen less and less until they disappeared altogether. Mancini records that, during this period, Edward was regularly visited by a doctor who reported that Edward sought remission of his sins by daily confession and penance because he believed that the end was facing him. The Latin reference to Argentinus Medicus was originally translated as a Strasbourg doctor. However, Rhodes suggests it may actually refer to Dr. Argentine, whom Rhodes identifies as John Argentine, an English physician who later served as Provost of King's College, Cambridge, and as doctor to Arthur, Prince of Wales, eldest son of King Henry VII of England. Following Richard's reunion with his brother, there have been accounts suggesting that the two princes were observed engaging in playful activities within the tower premises. However, records do not document any further sightings of them beyond the summer of 1483. An unsuccessful rescue mission was undertaken towards the end of July in an effort to locate them. The destiny of the two princes continues to linger as an unsolved mystery, shrouded in mystery and speculation. Various theories and conjectures have been put forth over the years, yet no definitive answers have emerged to resolve their ultimate fate. Many scholars in the field of history speculate about the fate of the princes, with a prevailing belief that they met a tragic end. There is a view suggesting that the possible occurrence of their demise took place in the latter part of the summer of 1483. Maurice Keane puts forward the argument that the uprising against Richard III in 1483 was initially aimed at liberating Edward V and his sibling from the confines of the Tower of London before it was too late. However, as the Duke of Buckingham got involved, the focus of the rebellion shifted towards endorsing Henry Tudor, as Buckingham likely had knowledge of the prince's demise within the tower's walls. Alison Weir posits the 3rd of September 1483 as a probable date for the event. Nonetheless, Weir's findings have faced criticism for being heavily reliant on her own conjecture rather than on the ambiguous evidence she has presented in a misleading manner. The mysteries surrounding the disappearance of the two princes at the hands of a possible murder remain a subject of intricate scholarly debate, delving deep into the complexities of political dynamics and power struggles of that era. In his analysis of historical records, Clements Markham, a prominent historian, suggests that there is a possibility that the princes, believed to be Edward V and Richard, Duke of York, could have still been alive as late as July 1484. Markham draws attention to a set of regulations issued by Richard III household that specified the requirement for the children to have breakfast together. However, diverging from Markham's view, James Gairdner argues that the identity of the term "the children" is ambiguous and might not necessarily refer to the princes in question. Gairdner posits that the phrase could have been alluding to a different group of individuals. Specifically, he proposes that the children mentioned in the regulations could be Edward, Earl of Warwick, who was the son of the Duke of Clarence, along with Edward IV's two youngest daughters, Catherine and Bridget. These individuals were under the care of Richard III at Sheriff Hutton during that period. While the fate of the princes remains shrouded in mystery, the absence of conclusive evidence hinders any definitive conclusion, as acknowledged by the lack of credible and impartial sources detailing the events surrounding their disappearance. Despite the ambiguity surrounding their fate, speculations concerning their demise quickly proliferated following their vanishing act. Notably, Dominic Mancini's sole contemporary narrative depicting the prince's time in the Tower stood as a rare account until its unearthing in 1934 at the Municipal Library in Lille. Subsequent chronicles penned post the rise of Henry Tudor often carry accusations of bias or Tudor-influenced narratives, casting doubt on their reliability. The narrative's scarcity adds layers of complexity to the long-standing mystery surrounding the prince's untimely disappearance, inviting a deeper exploration of the intricacies and implications surrounding their mysterious case. An interesting post has just been submitted to the subreddit UFOs, and it's being hailed as one of the best pieces of evidence that we have of an unidentified submerged object. The post was submitted by Reddit user ZJ223, and it detailed their encounter with something mysterious 10 miles off the coast of Florida. The poster commented the following: "I understand this is not technically a UFO because it was seen in the water. I work on a research vessel. Recently we had a trip studying bioluminescence in the Gulf of Mexico. Around 11:45 in the evening, we were conducting research as normal when a science party member saw a strange light about a quarter mile off our stern. We immediately started to make our way towards the light. The intensity of the light was quite astonishing. Nobody in the crew or the science party knew what to make of it. At first, we thought it could have been a sunken vessel or a navigation buoy of some kind that sank. We proceeded to get as close as possible to the light, and eventually we hovered directly on top of it. Our vessel has a moon pool in the center where the crew and science party were able to carefully observe the light from directly on top. We used a subsurface camera to attempt and capture what the object may have been. The science party on board automatically ruled out the light being produced by bioluminescent phytoplankton. This light source was 100% on the bottom of the ocean and not something that was floating through the water column. It did not move in the current. The water depth at this specific location was 60 feet deep. As we hovered on top of the light, we used an EK-80 sonar to provide us with an image of the ocean floor at this location. To our surprise, this object producing the light did not have a physical shape that we could detect. It was invisible to our sonar. The sonar is also capable of imaging objects that are below the seafloor, objects that could be partially submerged in the mud, and objects that could be as small as 3 inches in length and width. Consider the strength of the light having to shine through 60 feet of water and being strong enough for us to observe from a considerable distance away. There was definitely an arc of visibility that seemed to be brighter when viewed from further away than top down. I added some more videos here, and I've been scanning through all of your comments. I'll try to respond to most of them with this comment. There are some people who are questioning the validity of my photos and objects in the photo. Let me preface this by stating some facts from our research cruise back in February. Our research vessel was chartered by a group of scientists from a college in Florida. The chief scientist who sailed with us has been studying bioluminescence his whole career, and even made mentions of how the Navy used research of bioluminescence in the past to detect Russian subs deep underwater. The chief scientist is a PhD, and his primary graduate study was in bioluminescence. This location we were studying bioluminescence at when we saw the object had very low concentrations of bioluminescent phytoplanktons. We were at the point of calling it quits for the night and moving to the next site entirely. When the boat gets chartered out by scientists, they provide all the gear, and the mission of this trip was to study bioluminescence. So naturally, they bring cameras and equipment to photograph bioluminescence at the surface. The vessel is not equipped with anything more than whatever the scientists decide to bring. Dropping a traditional camera in the water, without the correct protective housing, would cause the camera to break. We did not have any gear to send down a camera 60 feet. The most logical explanation at first would be bioluminescence. According to the PhD chief scientist, he immediately declared it was not bioluminescence after viewing the object using the camera equipment that was attached to the ship. When we consider bioluminescence, remember that organisms such as phytoplanktons and small jellyfish, I don't know the species name, forgive me, travel in the currents throughout the water column. This makes them move within the water. The object we were observing was completely still for our entire length of observation. It did not move at all. Let me throw in a personal opinion. That is not based on fact. Okay, let's say it was bioluminescence for the sake of argument. I want to know, how was the luminosity of it so bright that we saw it from over 1,000 feet away, plus 60 feet down? Especially after making the deduction that the object was more than likely sitting on the ocean floor, and why wasn't it moving with the ocean currents? It appeared as it was anchored or stationary in one position. Which brings me to my next point. How do we know the object was on the ocean floor? Well, it's just an assumption. We don't know where it actually was in the water column. Logic might make us think that whatever the object is, it carries mass. Gravity would naturally pull it down. So that is the basis of the assumption it was on the bottom. Unfortunately, I cannot provide anyone here with documents to prove that the scientists have the credentials they do, or any of that. It's just my word. I didn't share the post on the internet immediately because, honestly, it was cool, but I don't care to post on social media. I'm a mariner. I spend years of my life on a boat on the ocean. Every so often I see things that defy explanation. I've seen lights flying at unrealistically high speeds a couple hundred feet off the water. I've seen lights in the night sky form weird shapes and fly away. None of that stuff I took pictures of, but they eventually become sea stories I share with friends and family. I truly hope this explains things for most of you. Looking forward to continuing the conversation and formulating ideas on what it may be. Location of the sighting was 10 miles west of Caladesi Island, Clearwater Beach, Florida. End quote. From reported encounters observed by American submarines to mysterious humanoid beings purportedly residing within the profound waters of Russian lakes, emerges a lesser-known counterpart of unidentified aerial phenomena, the USO, also known as Unidentified Submerged Object. Numerous accounts of unidentified submerged objects have surfaced globally, frequently originating from esteemed military and scholarly experts. Some individuals assert that underwater fast movers constitute a regular occurrence within the confines of submarines, shedding light on a phenomenon that remains a mystery to many. These reports not only intrigue the scientific community, but also spark curiosity among the public regarding the existence of such anomalies. Nigel Watson highlighted the notion that our Earth is predominantly covered by vast water bodies, which explains why unidentified flying objects are frequently witnessed hovering above or near the immense stretches of water that envelop our planet. This observation sheds light on the intriguing correlation between UFO sightings and the aquatic nature of our world, suggesting a plausible connection between the two phenomena. During the late 60s, an increased number of unidentified flying objects were reported to have been sighted frequently around the Guantanamo Bay military base. The former Marine expressed surprise at the abundance of unidentified flying object sightings occurring over and around the military base. According to the witness, fellow Marines were astounded by the frequency of UFO activity in the vicinity. On a regular basis, practically nightly occurrences involved unidentified flying objects traversing the sky at heights measuring under 300 feet. The majority of these unidentified flying objects measured around 50 to 100 feet in diameter. However, when observed with the naked eye, they appeared as indistinct, blurry structures, emitting a faint glow, with a diminutive red light following closely behind. The individual from the Marines, who opted to keep their identity confidential during an interview with the paranormal observation platform, the Mutual UFO Network, expressed uncertainty regarding the specific dates of the incident. The interviewee, belonging to the Marine Corps, was hesitant to disclose personal details while discussing the encounter with the Paranormal Events website. The Marine alleges receiving specific instructions prohibiting him from sharing details about the sightings. Furthermore, he recounted encountering a single unidentified flying object that bore resemblance to a majestic cloud illuminated by a pulsating blend of blue and white lights. A professor has asserted that a vessel, surpassing the velocity of sound, swiftly passed in close proximity to the USS Hampton submarine, creating a whizzing effect as it traversed the water. Professor Bob Maguire, who is affiliated with Virginia Tech and the Institute for Defense Analyses, reported that the vessel's integrated sonar system picked up an unidentified submerged object in motion underwater, surpassing the speed of sound. This groundbreaking revelation sheds light on the advanced capabilities of the craft's detection technology. While aboard the submarine, Maguire engaged in confidential operations. He mentioned that the crew consciously chose not to probe further into the unusual incident to maintain their mission's priority. However, they did not explicitly instruct him to refrain from discussing the peculiar encounter. The submarine's occupants refrained from delving into the matter to uphold their focus on the task at hand, implying a commitment to their duties above all else. Unidentified submerged objects have long piqued the curiosity and fascination of researchers, enthusiasts, and the general public, sparking a sense of wonder and mystery. These intriguing occurrences, commonly referred to as unidentified objects or vessels that navigate stealthily and skillfully beneath the water's surface without leaving a trace or a viable explanation, have been documented across a broad spectrum of the world's oceans, lakes, and rivers. Despite skeptics attempting to attribute such accounts to myths or misinterpretations, the sheer abundance and consistency of reported sightings worldwide underscore the need for a thorough and meticulous examination of USOs. The persistent presence of these unexplained underwater phenomena demands not only acknowledgement, but also rigorous investigation to unravel their strange nature and potential implications. USOs, or unidentified submerged objects, share a remarkable resemblance with UFOs, commonly sighted hovering above the Earth's skies. The mystery surrounding these mysterious occurrences mirrors the intrigue evoked by UFO sightings, sparking debates on potential extraterrestrial involvement and cutting-edge aviation technologies. Delving deeper into the realm of USO encounters raises profound queries regarding the essence and genesis of these hidden anomalies. While certain hypotheses speculate on their extraterrestrial genesis, alternative theories advocate for more grounded interpretations, including clandestine military maneuvers, yet to be explored natural phenomena, or even ancient civilizations residing beneath the ocean's depths. The vast expanses of the ocean, which cover around 71% of the Earth's surface and hold depths that are mostly uncharted, create a perfect setting for harboring mysterious occurrences like unidentified submerged objects. Throughout history, there have been numerous documented accounts of USO sightings, with reports spanning centuries and recounting encounters relayed by sailors, fishermen, and naval personnel. These encounters often depict peculiar underwater entities that showcase extraordinary abilities. Witnesses describe USOs as having the uncanny capability of swiftly accelerating, making abrupt directional changes, and effortlessly navigating through substantial depths, features that challenge traditional explanations rooted in known human technology. The allure of the deep ocean continues to fascinate and mystify, inviting exploration and prompting speculation about the mysteries concealed within its aquatic depths. One intriguing aspect regarding unidentified submerged objects lies in their affiliations with areas renowned for extensive maritime activities and oceanic mysteries. Particularly, the Bermuda Triangle, a sector within the western expanse of the North Atlantic Ocean, has garnered significant attention for its suggested involvement in a multitude of aircraft and vessel vanishings. Besides accounts of UFO sightings hovering over the Bermuda Triangle, there exist reports of USOs either surfacing from or submerging into the waters within this mystifying realm. Despite skeptics attributing the incidents within the Bermuda Triangle to natural occurrences or human miscalculations, advocates of the USO phenomena highlight these events as indications of an unknown force lurking beneath the oceanic depths. This unresolved mystery continues to captivate many individuals worldwide as they ponder the potential existence of undiscovered phenomena existing below the surface of our planet's waters, evoking curiosity and speculation surrounding the hidden facets of the marine domain. Various parts of the world, not just the notorious Bermuda Triangle, have been linked to unidentified submerged object activities. One such area is the waters surrounding Japan, specifically referred to as the Dragon's Triangle, or the Devil's Sea. This region has witnessed numerous documented sightings of USOs. Echoing the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, the Dragon's Triangle shares a history of maritime accidents and puzzling occurrences. These events have prompted discussions and theories regarding the potential existence of hidden underwater anomalies within this mysterious expanse. Advances in technology have facilitated a more organized and thorough investigation of unidentified submerged object reports by researchers. They utilize a range of sophisticated tools like underwater sonar, remote-operated vehicles, and deep-sea submersibles to delve into the depths of the ocean floor, aiming to uncover any submerged objects. While numerous expeditions have uncovered intriguing discoveries, including unidentified structures and peculiarities on the seabed, confirming the existence of USOs continues to elude definitive evidence. The presence of unidentified submerged objects gives rise to thought-provoking inquiries regarding the essence of these occurrences and their potential repercussions on our comprehension of the oceanic realm and the broader world. Should USOs truly exist, the questions surrounding their origins and underlying purposes become paramount. Could they signify the existence of sophisticated underwater civilizations, antiquated technologies, or undiscovered species of marine life? Delving deeper into these mysteries entails exploring the intricate web of possibilities and implications associated with USOs, evoking a deep-seated curiosity about the unseen realms lurking beneath the waves. The exploration of unidentified submerged objects sheds light on the myriad challenges involved in delving into and comprehending the profound realms of the ocean, which persist as one of the ultimate frontiers on our planet. With the continuous evolution of our technological prowess, our capacity to probe and record the mystery of the abyss deepens correspondingly. Whether USOs ultimately emerge as of interstellar origin, natural occurrences, or man-made relics, their presence acts as a poignant indicator of the limitless mysteries concealed beneath the ocean's surface worldwide, poised to be explored and comprehended. The study of USOs serves as a testament to the ceaseless fascination and insatiable quest for knowledge that drive humanity's exploration of the oceanic depths. A man has posted a mysterious photograph on social media, saying that he was watching the Yellowstone live cameras when something huge caught his attention in the distance. He described it as looking like a large humanoid and said that he often watches the Yellowstone live cameras, and this is the first time that he's ever seen anything this big before. Due to it being humanoid in shape, he quickly decided to take a screenshot, as the Yellowstone cameras work by refreshing roughly every 30 seconds. As he scanned the live camera footage, his keen eye caught a movement in the distance, a dark shape weaving between the towering trees and dense undergrowth. At first, he dismissed it as a trick of the light or a passing animal, but as he went in for a closer look, he could tell that this wasn't the local wildlife. There, unmistakably silhouetted against the backdrop of the forest, stood a towering figure, humanoid in shape, but distinctly different from any known species. The creature's massive frame stood out, and its unmistakable outline bore a striking resemblance to the legendary Bigfoot, a creature of myth and folklore said to inhabit the remote wilderness areas of North America. The man said he wanted to capture photographic proof of the elusive creature before it vanished back into the depths of the forest, and so decided to take a screenshot. As he adjusted the focus and zoomed in on the distant figure, he marveled at its sheer size and apparent strength, dwarfing the surrounding trees with its towering stature. Oddly enough, this isn't the first time that something mysterious has been sighted inside Yellowstone National Park. In the vast and rugged wilderness of Yellowstone National Park, among the towering trees and mist-shrouded valleys, there exists a mystery that has fascinated adventurers and researchers for generations: the elusive and enigmatic creature known as Bigfoot. While skeptics may dismiss the existence of Bigfoot as mere myth or legend, a closer examination of the evidence reveals a compelling tapestry of sightings and encounters that cannot be easily explained away. For decades, reports of Bigfoot sightings in Yellowstone have emerged from the depths of the park's remote forests and rugged backcountry, drawing curious onlookers and intrepid researchers in search of answers. These sightings span a wide range of locations and circumstances, from hikers stumbling upon massive footprints in the mud to campers awakening to the eerie sound of distant howls echoing through the night. One such encounter occurred in the summer of 2019, when a group of backpackers embarked on a multi-day trek through the remote wilderness of Yellowstone's Lamar Valley. As they made their way along the rugged trails, their senses heightened by the pristine beauty of the surrounding landscape, they were suddenly struck by an overwhelming sense of unease. It began with a series of strange noises emanating from the dense undergrowth, a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down their spines and raised the hairs on the back of their necks. As they cautiously approached the source of the sound, their eyes widened in disbelief at the sight before them. A towering figure, nearly 8 feet tall and covered in dark, matted fur, standing amidst the trees. In the fading light of the setting sun, the creature's massive frame cast a long shadow across the forest floor, its piercing eyes glinting with an otherworldly intelligence. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as the backpackers and the creature locked eyes, each silently sizing up the other in a tense standoff. As the tension reached a fever pitch, the creature let out a primal roar that reverberated through the valley, sending the backpackers scrambling for safety. With adrenaline-fueled determination, they raced back along the trail, their hearts pounding in their chests as they struggled to put distance between themselves and the mysterious creature lurking in the shadows. For the backpackers and others who have encountered Bigfoot in Yellowstone, the experience leaves an indelible mark on their psyche, forever altering their perceptions of the natural world and the mysteries that lie within. While skeptics may dismiss such encounters as mere hallucinations or misidentifications of known wildlife, the sheer volume and consistency of eyewitness reports suggest otherwise. Yellowstone's vast and remote wilderness provides the perfect habitat for a creature like Bigfoot to thrive, a place where dense forests, rugged terrain, and limited human presence offer ample opportunity for elusive creatures to remain hidden from prying eyes. And while the scientific community may remain skeptical of Bigfoot's existence, the evidence continues to mount, compelling researchers and enthusiasts alike to explore the depths of the park in search of answers. As of right now, Bigfoot sightings in Yellowstone National Park offer a tantalizing glimpse into the mysteries of the natural world and the creatures that inhabit its remote corners. While skeptics may scoff at the notion of a large, humanoid creature lurking in the shadows, eyewitness accounts and compelling evidence suggest that there may be more to the legend of Bigfoot than meets the eye. Throughout the annals of history, spanning countless millennia, ancient cultures across the United States have shared tales of encounters with large humanoid creatures that roam the land. From the towering giants of Native American lore to the legendary Sasquatch of modern folklore, these stories offer a fascinating glimpse into the rich tapestry of myth and legend that has shaped the cultural landscape of the continent. For centuries, Native American tribes have passed down oral traditions that speak of encounters with giant beings who roamed the wilderness long before the arrival of European settlers. These beings, known by various names such as the Si-Te-Ka among the Paiute people of Nevada or the Hiawatha giants among the Iroquois of the Northeast, were said to possess immense size and strength, towering over ordinary humans like towering sentinels of the ancient world. One such tale comes from the legends of the Cherokee people, who speak of a race of giants known as the Yunwi-Tsunsdi, or Little People, who once inhabited the mountains and forests of the southeast. According to Cherokee legend, these giants were skilled hunters and warriors who possessed supernatural abilities and wielded great power over the natural world. Similarly, the legends of the Choctaw people tell of a race of giants known as the Nalusa Falaya, or Long Black Being, who were said to inhabit the remote wilderness of the southeast. According to Choctaw tradition, these giants were fearsome creatures who stood taller than the tallest trees, their dark forms blending seamlessly with the shadows of the forest as they moved silently through the night. As European settlers began to push westward across the continent, encounters with large humanoid creatures continued to be reported, albeit under different names and guises. In the dense forests and rugged mountains of the Pacific Northwest, tales of the Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, have been a mainstay of Native American and settler lore for centuries. According to eyewitness accounts and Native American legends, Sasquatch is described as a large, ape-like creature standing between 6 and 10 feet tall, covered in dark fur and possessing immense strength and agility. While skeptics may dismiss these accounts as mere folklore or misidentifications of known wildlife, the sheer volume and consistency of eyewitness reports suggest otherwise. Indeed, sightings of Sasquatch have been reported by individuals from all walks of life, including hunters, hikers, and loggers, who claim to have encountered the creature firsthand in the remote wilderness of the Pacific Northwest. These encounters often involve fleeting glimpses of the creature darting between trees or disappearing into the underbrush, leaving behind only footprints and the lingering sense of unease. In recent years, advances in technology such as trail cameras and thermal imaging have led to an increase in the number of reported sightings and encounters with Sasquatch, as researchers and enthusiasts alike seek to unravel the mystery of this elusive creature. While definitive proof of Sasquatch's existence remains elusive, the wealth of eyewitness testimony and physical evidence suggests that there may be more to the legend than meets the eye. As of right now, the tales of encounters with large humanoid creatures in the United States are as diverse and varied as the cultures and landscapes from which they originate. From the towering giants of Native American lore to the legendary Sasquatch of modern folklore, these stories offer a fascinating glimpse into the rich tapestry of myth and legend that has shaped the cultural landscape of the continent for millennia. While skeptics may dismiss such tales as mere fantasy or exaggeration, the sheer volume and consistency of eyewitness reports suggest that there may be kernels of truth hidden within the depths of these ancient legends, waiting to be unearthed by intrepid explorers and researchers alike. The mysterious Palpa Flat Mountain. The Palpa Flat Mountain, along with the Palpa Lines or Palpa Geoglyphs, is a mysterious site located in the Palpa province of Peru. It consists of a series of large-scale geoglyphs, which are huge designs or motifs made by removing the reddish-brown iron oxide-coated pebbles that cover the surface of the ground. The designs are formed by the exposure of the lighter-colored soil underneath and can range in size from a few feet to over 500 feet in length. However, seen as one of the most convincing pieces of evidence for ancient civilizations, having once possessed advanced technologies, is that of the archaeological discovery of the Palpa Flat Mountain. Theorists have often posited that perhaps the gods of ancient cultures that supposedly descended from the stars were not actually gods, but rather advanced life forms. This would make sense given the fact that many cultures directly write about how the gods came from the stars or on machines that could fly. Interestingly, various civilizations talk about ancient beings descending from the sky, with amateur researchers saying that this evidence is documented across various different cultures and civilizations. Interestingly enough, the ancient Nazca tribes also seem to hold a similar belief to their religion, and the evidence in the area only shows this further, that it could very well be the case. As many different pilots flew over the area of the ancient tribes, a surprising discovery was made in regards to what they could see from the sky. Lines drawn out in the desert were made visible from the sky that appeared to be created over many miles of distance. In fact, the lines were detailed images and navigation trails that would have helped possible aircraft find areas to land and travel to. This was made only more interesting, as located nearby these large creations is that of the Palpa Flat Mountain. Located on the Palpa Flat Mountain is a completely flat mountainside, as if flattened down by vast ancient technologies. This is made more peculiar, as it seems to be the only flat mountain in the region, with a top that looks artificial cut from its base. Located on this flat top are lines and creations that pilots have often mistaken for a landing strip for aircraft. This has led many of the ancient theorist communities to believe that perhaps the tribe helped their gods by creating these lines in the sand that were only visible from the skies. These lines could be used similar to that as modern-day concrete arrows used to point towards landing strips and other aviation-important signals. This would be a plausible explanation, as the lines on the ground are not visible and would not be able to be used religiously or for any other important purpose without the ability to see it from the sky. Interestingly enough, the lines seem to be very old and ancient and provide proof as to the tribe's advanced knowledge in geometry in order to create massive images in the sand that they could never see themselves. Additionally, these pieces appear to be images of things the tribes held with utmost importance, such as that of different kinds of animal life and strange symbols that are nearly impossible to understand. The Palpa geoglyphs are thought to have been created by the Paracas and Nazca cultures, who lived in the region between 500 BCE and 500 CE. The designs depict various animals, including birds, monkeys, spiders, and lizards, as well as geometric shapes and human-like figures. Some of the designs are so large that they can only be seen from the air, which has led to much speculation about their purpose and origin. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Palpa geoglyphs is their alignment with the celestial bodies. Many of the designs are oriented towards the sun, moon, and stars, suggesting that they may have been used for astronomical purposes. Some researchers have even proposed that the designs represent a giant star map that was used for navigation or as a calendar. Despite their apparent significance, the Palpa geoglyphs have received relatively little attention compared to their more famous neighbours, the Nazca lines. This is partly due to their location in a more remote and difficult-to-access area, as well as their smaller size and less impressive appearance from ground level. Nonetheless, the Palpa geoglyphs remain a fascinating and mysterious sight that continues to intrigue archaeologists, historians, and enthusiasts alike. The Pyramid and the Lost Labyrinth of Hawara. The magnificent structure known as the Pyramid of Hawara is credited to Pharaoh Amenemhat III, who ruled during the 12th dynasty in ancient Egypt. Situated approximately 9 kilometers to the east of the Fayum oasis, this architectural marvel stands as a testament to the advanced civilization and architectural prowess of the ancient Egyptians. Amenemhat III ascended to the throne as the 6th pharaoh during the 12th dynasty of the Old Kingdom. The Black Pyramid, known as the Hawara Pyramid, deviates from the typical construction style of the famous Giza pyramids. Constructed using brick stones and covered with a limestone coating, the Pyramid of Hawara stands out due to its unique materials and design approach. Its distinct characteristics set it apart as a significant architectural marvel in ancient Egypt. The Pyramid of Hawara, in its original state, stood as a grand monument soaring up to a height of 58 meters. Featuring a remarkable symmetry, each side of its colossal base spanned approximately 100 meters. This architectural marvel, located in Egypt, captivates visitors with its sheer size and historical significance. The primary significance of this archaeological site does not solely lie in the pyramid's structure. Beneath the seemingly ordinary sands lies a hidden gem that has the potential to be deemed as one of the most pioneering architectural complexes in Egypt, the mysterious Labyrinth of Hawara. In 2008, a significant archaeological revelation unveiled the existence of what was referred to as a missing labyrinth concealed below the foundations of the renowned Hawara Pyramid. Herodotus, the renowned ancient historian, delved into the depths of awe and wonder in his renowned book when he encountered a remarkable megalithic construction that left him utterly perplexed. Herodotus, a renowned historian, along with ancient Egyptian folklore, asserted that the strange construction boasted an abundance of chambers, shrouded in mystery and intrigue. For centuries, these fabled rooms remained the subject of skepticism and disbelief, mere figments of imagination, until their tangible existence was unveiled through archaeological excavation. The Lost Labyrinth of Egypt, much like Göbekli Tepe, stands out as an extraordinary ancient site waiting to be unearthed. This intriguing historical location harbors immense secrets from the past that are yet to be revealed through excavation. Centuries ago, historical accounts penned by renowned figures like Strabo and Herodotus shed light on a mysterious subterranean network of interlinked chambers. These ancient scholars not only documented, but also physically explored and narrated the tales of the famed labyrinth, a remarkable structure that eventually faded away. The subterranean construction was characterized as a remarkable and intricate system with the potential to unlock humanity's past, shedding light on mysterious civilizations and powerful empires that governed the world long before the commonly recognized inception of recorded history. This hidden network of passages and chambers is believed to contain significant clues and revelations that could revolutionize our understanding of the ancient world. The maze is located slightly elevated from the Moiris Lake and almost directly across from the area known as the City of Crocodiles. This intricate network of paths and corridors offers a challenging journey for those who venture through its twists and turns. If one were to compare the construction and grandeur of Greek buildings and the magnitude of their endeavors, they would pale in comparison to the intricacy and magnificence of this labyrinth. The sheer scale and complexity of this architectural marvel far surpass the efforts and costs involved in building structures like the pyramids. Even the pyramids, which are renowned for their grandeur and historical significance, are insurmountable in their awe-inspiring presence. Each pyramid alone stands as a testament to the monumental achievements of the Greeks, yet the labyrinth eclipses even these iconic structures in terms of sheer amazement and magnitude. Upon stepping into the revered enclosure, visitors were greeted by a grand temple, encompassed by 40 columns on each side. The structure boasted a remarkable roof, crafted from a single intricately carved stone, featuring ornate panels and adorned with exquisite paintings. Within this edifice were depictions commemorating the origins of every king, alongside representations of the temples and ceremonies conducted within, all masterfully depicted in paintings of exceptional beauty. This sacred space not only served as a tribute to royalty and religious practices, but also stood as a testament to the skilled artistry and reverence for tradition present in the ancient culture. The structure mentioned consists of 12 enclosed courts with gates positioned opposite each other. There are 6 courts on the north side and 6 on the south side, interconnected seamlessly, surrounded by a common wall encompassing all the courts externally. Additionally, the structure is equipped with 2 types of chambers, one set located underground and the other situated above ground level. In total, there are 3,000 chambers, evenly distributed with 1,500 chambers of each type. The meticulous design of the layout aims to provide a symmetrical and organized arrangement, emphasizing a balanced distribution of courts and chambers to facilitate efficient navigation and functionality within the structure. The chambers located above ground were personally witnessed by us. However, the underground chambers were only known to us through hearsay. Wandering through the interconnected chambers and navigating the intricately designed courts was a captivating experience that never failed to evoke a sense of wonder. The elaborate decorations of the passages and the courts provided a constant source of amazement as people journeyed from one court to the chambers, moving through grand colonnades and then transitioning to various other rooms, only to find themselves back in the chambers leading to yet more courts. The transitions between these different spaces, adorned with exquisite embellishments, created an immersive journey filled with architectural beauty and historical significance. In the year 2008, a team of researchers hailing from Belgium and Egypt, known as the Mataha expedition, embarked on a journey to delve into the mysterious lore surrounding an underground complex. With the utilization of advanced ground-penetrating technology, they sought to unlock the secrets buried beneath the surface. Their primary objective was to shed light on the strange legend that had intrigued many for ages. The collaborative venture involving Belgian and Egyptian researchers successfully validated the existence of an underground temple located in close proximity to the Hawara pyramid, solidifying their findings with concrete evidence. Flinders Petrie, a prominent figure in the field of Egyptology, came across the structure that has been a recent discovery. However, this finding dates back to the 1800s when he unearthed the megalithic remnants associated with it. Petrie and his expedition refrained from excavating a potential extraordinary find under the belief that the ancient structure was dismantled in antiquity to construct the neighboring city of Shedit, utilizing its materials. This decision deprived them of the opportunity to uncover what might have been one of their most remarkable discoveries. A comprehensive analysis of the research outcomes was presented and deliberated upon during a prominent public discourse held at the University of Ghent in Belgium. Following the discovery, the dissemination of the findings was halted as the Secretary-General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities in Egypt imposed restrictions on any additional disclosures concerning the finding, attributing it to national security measures. This action prevented the public from accessing any further information regarding the discovery, effectively putting a stop to the communication process in its entirety. Mr. Van Kerkwijk, hailing from Belgium, has pointed out that the revelation of this significant discovery has been intentionally concealed. Presently, the remarkable possibilities held by this site are gradually but inevitably declining due to a combination of governmental inactivity and the rising water table in the surrounding region. The lack of intervention by authorities, paired with the detrimental impact of the escalating water levels, is leading to the gradual deterioration of this valuable site. The current status requires excavation of the framework,